tell us a little bit about how you got started as a concept artist? Where did it all begin?
Uh, well, first I didn't know I wanted to be a concept artist. I wanted to do animation at first, because at that time I think it's 1999 and all the Disney films are out and all this stuff. And I wasn't really a big fan of Disney stuff, but I loved animation. So I went to PCC first, need to take my painting classes, my drawing classes. But then I saw a like flyer for Associates of Art. So I saw that and I thought, wow, the figure drawings here look so amazing, And so I went there, and I'm glad I went there, in just a few months I've learned a lot and I improved so much in just a few days I was there, months I was there. And so from there I saw Jordu's work. So I had kind of stumbled in his classroom, and he did this quick, like 2-hour bust. It's just so amazing. I think that's where I was like, wow, creature design. I didn't know there was, anything, a job called creature designer. I didn't know there was something like that. I was like, wow, So then I got to know Jordu, and he was a really good guy. I guess I really learned a lot from him in designing creatures. And he looked at my book and my sketches and stuff. So I guess he was not overly impressed, but it was just like, oh, so you like this kind of stuff. And I have to say, back then I didn't draw that well. So that was just 98. So it wasn't even that long ago. But 10 years seems like a long time. So anyway, so from there, I realized that, hey, maybe I don't want to be doing in-betweens so much for animation, and if I could just draw, I realized that it wasn't animation I wanted to do. I guess
it was almost the key drawings.
The key drawings, yeah, the key frames of it is what I wanted to design it, then animate it. I mean, animate the movement, right? I designed the movement. That's what it was. So, design the movement. Then I ended up wanting to design the character, and I think that's where it came around to, oh, maybe I really just want to do character design, first, and then creature design. And it happens to, I really loved monsters when I was younger, zombies, vampires, Dracula, and all this stuff. And yeah, and you never really imagine that there's a guy behind the desk designing these things. You never thought that it's something until finally I met Jordu, and he's the guy that designs these things for a living. So I'm like, wow, So when he started his first studio, yeah, I went there and did my first sculpture and started learning, like creature design and stuff. Even before that, I was doing design, creature experimentation, like in the lab, trying to come up with shapes and stuff like that. So, I think I'm not answering the question.
No, I think it's a process. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so when I was in one of his open house one night, his open house. Yeah, I was in his open house, and he had the guys from ADI, Tom Woodruff and Alec Gillis. So we were there. I was actually with Carlo Aureliano. We were both there. He was the guy that Jordu was introducing first. Hey, you gotta get this guy, blah, blah, this and that. And I was just standing beside him. And Alec asked me if hey, are you also concept artist? And I just said, yes, I am. And I was so nervous. I was just like, this shy guy. And I was thinking, oh no, yes, just say yes. And I realized I had 2 weeks to make my portfolio. So you
didn't have a portfolio at that point.
Portfolio at that point. So it's like, oh man, is this sense of urgency that was kind of given to me, and I had to act right away. So for those 2 weeks, I drew every day, morning till night, every day until I finally came up with some like 10 pieces that I felt comfortable with to show. No coloring, because I didn't Photoshop back then, and I was airbrushing before, and airbrushing was going to take too long, or I just didn't know the techniques for it. Um, but mainly they seem like guys that pay attention to design. So and instead of rendering stuff, I focused on good design. So the funny thing is when the interview did come up, so I had this, I got a little portfolio, zip up, and all this stuff, on plastic sleeves and all this stuff, and he's looking through it, and it looks cool. And do you have your sketchbook? And luckily I brought my sketchbook, and that's actually what got me the job, and not this clean portfolio that I had. It's just all the ideas I had, all the little thumbnails I had, the sketches and shapes and silhouettes, and my notes showed that I thought of my design. I made a story behind it and all this stuff. I don't know if it's the same way now. Nowadays it's a little different, I think. Now with ZBrush and with things that are more photo collage together, more photoreal, it's aside from your design, you have to make it look like it's in the movie already. So I think that's the development I've seen from before, where it's just sketches and they could see you can design already, and the final is actually going to be in the actual finished model. So they don't ask you to render it to the finished quality, because we'll see it in the actual finished sculpture. So so that's how I got my first thing in ADI. ADI was the first place I worked in, and being there for, I guess it was like a year or 2 years.
And you were working on film projects?
Yeah, and just a bunch of film projects. That's where I worked on Bubble Boy, Spider-Man, this other Tremors 3, straight to DVD, and what's the other stuff? Evolution. I can't even remember the other smaller pictures. There's some other smaller pictures that we worked on. But yeah, maybe it's just 1 year. But that 1 year, I had a lot of experience, with the guys there, like on the job training almost. So learning design there, and what they need for practical stuff they need so they could build the stuff, So my design sense wasn't like crazy silhouettes and stuff like this. It's more like just nice, simple, interesting silhouette, but the internal details have to be really, are what should shine, because the camera's gonna go really close in that, right? So, but for games, it's so from there I went to Steve Johnson's, and then Rick Baker on Men in Black 2, and then Captive Audience, which became Drac, and then later on, now it's called Illusion Industries. This is where I'm back now. So I almost made this full circle, went into games, NCSoft, and then Project Offset, which was bought by Intel, and then we went up north for 3 years, and now I'm back down here. Now I'm one of the key lead concept artists here at the Illusion Industries.
We are here at Illusion Factory?
Illusion Industries.
Illusion Industries, and we are in their workshop here with Anthony Francisco. And this is some of the props they've designed for feature films. Wow, that's pretty awesome. Cool.
There isn't any old age makeups on here. It's for Benjamin Buttons. I think maybe not this one. But this one. So this is the Bram Stoker's Dracula.
This is from Francis Ford Coppola's movie, right? The Bram Stoker. That's pretty awesome.
I worked on this project.
Is this Passion of the Christ?
Yeah.
Wow, so they actually built an entire latex or a replica of this?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Hammered the nails and
What is this from?
I think this is for CSI, and he died in his apartment or something, and the dogs ate him.
It looks like something from Walking Dead, dude.
It's really awesome. Yeah, it's really
pretty amazing makeup, dude. It's just
feels really
well done. Yeah. Is this silicone, probably?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It smells like it's dead. Anyway, yeah, look at his socks. It's just so. No one comes close to this one.
Dude, it looks really pretty amazing. That's wild.
And I also still do freelance work on the side. I'm actually part of Fantasy Lab, independent game company. So I'm the lead concept artist for that. So I'm doing all the artwork for that for now. A bunch of sci-fi stuff and actually get a chance to work on environments now. You know, because mainly I'm a creature character guy. So it's a good experience, and the guy's really a good guy to work for. Really good, you know, eye for stuff. Even though he's a programmer, Mike Vinnell. He's a programmer and he's got an eye for art. So that's really cool combination. Really good to work with. Yeah. So that's where I'm at now. Well, definitely when I was growing up. It was these model kits of vampires and mummies and Creature in the Black Lagoon. My uncle had it like stashed away in his room, and I would look at those, right? And I think that's what made me like zombies and monsters a lot, that kind of stuff. And as I grew older, I was allowed to watch more. Like I watched as much horror movies as I can, and you know, like Poltergeist and all this stuff. Like I guess I really like the visual, the cinematic quality of these films, and you know, of James Cameron when Aliens came out. James Cameron's version was the first version I watched. Then I watched the Ridley Scott version, and Ridley Scott I think is one of my favorites, and there's a lot of filmmakers I think. I mean, there's some stuff like Jaws. You know, even Jaws played some importance to how I envisioned stuff that scared me, because that scared me a lot when I was younger. Who else? I think most of the art influence came later on when I went to Associates of Art, because like Sargent, Zorn, you know, Dean Cornwell, Repin, and all those guys. I didn't know about them until I went to Associates, you know, and as I got more aware of like animation, you know, what goes into making animation and all these keyframes and all this stuff, then I like to look at books like that. And Miyazaki is like, I think his Nausicaa when I was younger was still it's still in my mind, like scenes in there that I can still remember. I don't remember the story, but I just remember the images a lot, you know. So I when I got older, I tried to look for that. I never knew the name of the guy. I didn't know it was Miyazaki until later on. I tried to collect most of his movies and stuff. So he's another guy that influences me a lot in terms of I guess story and how creative he gets. You know, House Moving Castle. You know, I like the concept of that. It's pretty cool. What else? Other inspirations. Definitely my other friends, my just contemporaries, artists around me also inspire me a lot. Just, you know, push me to get better. And NC Soft was the best, one of the best times, I guess, because it's a really good group of artists that was there. Like, just
who are some of the guys that you work with that maybe inspired you?
Well, at NC Soft, almost everybody there, you know, pretty much inspired my growth as an artist and as a person. You know, Kevin Chen, he's the guy who brought me in there. You know, so Kevin, Kang, Steve Messing, Paul, Paul, that guy is one of my closest friends too. We go landscape painting from time to time. So I think that was the first group of people that was there. Steve Shirley was there. Yeah, I hope I don't forget anybody. You know, I think Jung was still there. Jung came in right before I left, and
John Donahue was there.
John Donahue, yeah, I got John Donahue.
Kang was working there for a little bit, right? Or
yeah, he was one of the first guys that got there. I tricked him to going there. I said, Kang, come here, it'll be awesome. You know.
You also got John Donahue to come there as well, right?
Yeah, John Donahue, I got to come there, and you know, I worked with him here when Illusion Industries was still called Captive Audience. So we were working here together, and it was he's one of the greatest guys to work with. He's really awesome too. He's like right beside me, you know, when we're doing concepts and stuff. And who else? John, Chris Anderson was there, and JP Target. I think that's how you say his name. Hong was there too. Yeah. So we got Hong there. He was awesome too. And Hong's like one of the first guys that I met that's a concept artist in games when I was going to Associates of Art. So he was one of the guys that we kind of looked up to. You know, I don't think he even he taught there for a while. You know. And I don't know if I mentioned Jared. Jared's another guy. I knew him like for a long time, since he was like 14. And now it's like he's so good now. Who else? And there's a lot of other artists that I've met along the way, and just through Kevin and Kang, and that's inspiring. Like Kazoo, Kazoo's inspiring with his story stuff, and Chris Applehan. I could name so many people, and Carlo Arellano, the guy that I've known for a long time. He's when I was in the Philippines, when I was just 15, is when I met Carlo. So so what's that? That's a long time. 20 years, 25.
We are in Anthony Francisco's office here. This is some of his stuff here. Here's Anthony. Some of his books. Reference on the floor. As we all know, reference makes an artist.
Makes it on the floor.
He's got his anatomy sculptures here to help him look at muscles and bone. And here's some more of his work.
Cinematic at work. Oh, sorry.
Here's Asen working on some 3D models for Fantasy Lab.
You can show the model because that's already online.
So you mentioned that you had some other influences that you wanted to talk to that were important. Can you tell us about that?
I wanted to say, working Man Black 2, I got to meet Carlos Huante, and he would come by my desk, and we would talk a little bit. Not too much. He's a busy guy, but I would ask him about my work and stuff like this. And I'm going to school. I was gonna go Art Center. From PCC to Art Center. I was able to get like a $15,000 scholarship there, but I didn't know what else I would do, to get the rest of the $20,000, right? For someone that didn't have that much money, and I was actually already working in the industry, Carlos, you gave me the confidence that my stuff is good. I don't know how good, or if he was really just, encouraging me. I don't know his thoughts at that time, but it was really kind of him to not just shut me down or anything like that. He seemed like he didn't generally like the stuff, but of course I needed a lot of practice. So that I think for you students, practice drawing every day, not just creature stuff, not just imaginary stuff, but landscape painting, oil painting, watercolors, just so you feel every medium. And one thing I could say I got so much better after I took a watercoloring class. Jackson Zayer, I took his class for watercolors and landscape painting, and that mileage, you put in the mileage, it really helped me be a little more organized with my thoughts, putting down, painting from back to front, clean shapes. So I actually got faster by working traditionally. And not to mention Paul Christopher, which we go painting to, and just trying to do that every day. At one point we went for 2 weeks, 7 in the morning to like 2 in the afternoon,
awesome.
Every day. And I was like, wow, that really. By the way, my stuff sucked those whole 2 weeks, but it's still a struggle now. But at least I think in those terms of how I paint traditionally. And this was always the recommendation of Kang. So again, all the stuff I've learned, it's not just from me, my own thing that I came up with. It's none of that. It's all from what everybody's learned through the master books from the masters back then. And it's always the same thing. It's always learning the simplest thing: shading, circle, square, and triangle. And it seems like this is such a boring thing to learn, but you actually use these principles of how you render that into other stuff. And back then I didn't really care for it. Of course I don't render squares and triangles and stuff. It's just that concept that you transfer into your designs, and that's what landscape painting did for me. It kind of helped me organize my work habits a little better, and not be too messy and all that stuff. Anyway, so yeah, Kang's been telling me that for a while now, and now I did it just recently, so it really helped a lot. So again, practicing not just your drawing skill, but going into painting and all these other things to get better with your craftsmanship. So when you're designing, you don't have to worry about how you draw something. You just worry about design. So, and that's a different lecture. Okay. I don't know.
So we're excited that you're going to be part of Careers in Concept Art. Can you share with us a little bit about what you have planned for your mini seminar at the Careers in Concept?
2 hours. I was thinking, well, first hour, maybe first 30 minutes would be a lecture, and then the lecture I'm gonna show the principles that I kind of think about when I do a design, and try to show it in the last hour and a half for the demo, like a painting demo. I'm just gonna cover just the way I work and things I keep in mind when I'm doing a design. It's probably gonna be for a creature, unless someone wants me to do a character. But yeah, so I'm just gonna talk about the the story I try to tell myself if the creature doesn't have a story, and how we could explore shape design and silhouette and proportions. I mean, those are probably one of the most important things you have to think about when designing stuff. So story, shape design, and proportions of your shape. Just those are the 3 things so far. There's more stuff, so if you guys come join my lecture, then I'll be able to say more.
Cool. Thanks for doing the interview, Anthony.